Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to class today. As we get kicked off today, I first want to just apologize for having to run the live stream this afternoon instead of this morning. Had some technical problems here at the college trying to get some things kicked off and didn't get them finished till around noon. And at that point, I had to go teach another class, so we couldn't get one kicked off any earlier today. But again, it doesn't matter if you're here or not, as long as you make sure to watch these recordings, everything is just fine. I just want to give you these opportunities with the live streams just so you can kind of interact with me, ask questions during the live stream. Just give us another avenue for interaction. But as we get started with the live stream today, and I'm going to try to keep it relatively short today, but as we get started with the live stream today, I just wanted to make a couple points regarding some important stuff in our Blackboard course. So let me switch over here to the main screen. The first one has to do with these open-ended assignments. So we have things like this Let's Explore, this Job Connect, this other Let's Explore. These are open-ended assignments because when you click them to open them up, it takes you to a page where you have to answer some questions and fill in the blanks. So here's the thing with these, and I've had some people ask me about this, and I just want to kind of clear things up. So when it comes to these, all that I really want you to do is just answer whatever question it poses to you in the questions. Whether you type it in these boxes, because some of them have multiple boxes, whether you type a little bit in each box, whether you type everything in one box, or whether you make a file and upload it here, that is up to you. Do whatever you're the most comfortable with. This one here has multiple boxes. It has multiple questions. You can do everything in one. You can answer all the questions in one file if you want to and upload it to the last question. You can answer all the questions, one at a time, or you can, answer all the questions all together and just put it in this last section here. Doesn't matter to me. Remember that I have to grade these manually, and when I come in here to grade them manually, I can figure out what you've done. So do whatever is the most comfortable with these assignments here, whatever you feel the most comfortable doing. Just do that. Just so long as you have the questions answered, that's all that I particularly care about. Also remember with these, it's important that you know that once you immediately submit them, a 0 will show up in your gradebook. That doesn't mean you got a 0 on the assignment. It means you did it, and I have to grade it. I don't know why it shows a 0 by default. I think it probably should. I think it should show something else that would be more clear to you all. But it shows a 0 by default. So when you're done, you'll see a 0. When I grade it, you'll see a grade. I have pretty much completed grading the last module, Module 1. I just, got some people who I gave some extensions to, waiting on them. But otherwise, we have all the Module 1 grading completed. And speaking of Module 1 grading, that brings something else that we need to talk about, and that's these discussion boards. You might be wondering why you got a certain grade on your discussion board, and that's because we have a rubric for discussion boards in this class. Hopefully you would have noticed this, but I want to make sure you notice it just so you can see it and know what it is for the future. So if you're kind of wondering, well, why did I make what I made on this discussion board, you're about to find out. So when you go to your grade book, and I'm in student view now, so you can kind of see, or I can kind of see something similar to what you see in the grade book with these discussion board topics. Let's see if I can find one here. Where are they at? That's strange. It's supposed to be after you create your discussion board and you get graded, you should see a little link there that says view rubric. I think since I've not done any and had mine graded here, it's not showing them to me. But it should have a little view rubric link beside your graded discussion board. And that view rubric link will break down why you scored what you scored. And you can read all the details there about why you scored what you scored. And if you have further questions, you can ask me and I'd be happy to talk to you about it. So with that being said, let's cover some of our Module 2 material. And we won't go over a ton of it today. We'll just do some stuff really quickly here to just kind of get some stuff together. So Module 2 is about the internet, exploring the world using the internet. So a lot of these concepts should be relatively familiar with all of you because the internet is kind of ubiquitous nowadays. Like, it's everywhere. Like, we all have to use the internet in our day-to-day lives to do the things that we want to do or need to do or like to do. You know, the vast majority of us have to use the internet. So all of the things we'll talk about here might be somewhat familiar. But in order to talk about the internet, what we need to talk about to begin with is a network. We have to kind of step backward a bit. So a network is two or more computers or other devices, like a printer or a tablet or whatever, that are linked together to share resources and communicate with each other. This link could be a physical link via a cable. It could be wireless, just some kind of link that connects the two devices together. In a home network, which is probably what you're most familiar with, the internet that you have in your home, internet access is shared among, all sorts of different devices. You might have a desktop, you might have a laptop, you might have a tablet or a smartphone. But in the workplace, we see some more devices connected to the network than you might see in your home. In the workplace, you see some other stuff that needs internet access, like the server or a printer or some kind of special copier, right, that you see in some workplaces. And these things all are on the network, so they're all linked together with the other devices on the network, like the desktop, like a laptop, all that sort of stuff. So one type of network, and really it's the biggest network, is the internet. So we call it the internet or just the net. It's a global network, so it's a network that is worldwide. And this worldwide network links various networks together. So it takes all these small networks and links them together into one worldwide, huge, giant network. We can think of these networks as like, the different government departments, businesses, nonprofits, schools, and research institutions, and even the networks that are in your home, of course, because you can use the internet from your home. So you can kind of think of the internet as the physical pathway that's sort of made up of thousands of other connected networks to make this worldwide network. Now, you connect your personal computer, your PC, or mobile device to the internet by subscribing to an internet service. And this person that you get the internet service from, or this company rather, that you get the internet service from, they're called an internet service provider, or ISP. This is a company that provides you access to the internet, to this worldwide network, for a fee. You know, they charge you money and then you get internet. When you use your smartphone to access the internet, your cellular provider is your ISP. So if you have internet that comes into your home, that you put on your laptop or your desktop, or you have the wireless, that more than likely around these parts either comes from Spectrum or AT&T. Those are the people that you pay to get the internet onto your computers. But for your phone, that's your cell provider. That's your mobile provider. That's going to be Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, whoever you get your cell phone service with. For them, they qualify as your ISP because you're able to, use the 4G, LTE, 5G networks to access the internet. So one place where we actually see a lot of confusion is the internet versus the World Wide Web. And a lot of people will use these terms interchangeably, but they're not really interchangeable. These are two different things. The internet is the physical structure. It's the global network of devices. But the World Wide Web, on the other hand, is this collection of electronic documents. These different websites and web pages that we see on the internet. So this global collection of electronic documents that we have on the internet in the form of web pages make up the World Wide Web, or web. So, when you go to a website and you type in your URL bar at the top of your browser, www.whatever.com or whatever, that www stands for World Wide Web. It's the prefix that's kind of telling us that this is a document that's on the internet. To kind of break that down, we have from the web, we have web pages. And a web page is a document that contains text and multimedia content like images and videos and sounds and things like that. And web pages are stored in a format that is read and interpreted for display within a web browser. Now, your web browser is software that you use to view web pages. So if you're ever having trouble and I ask you, what browser are you using? That's the software that you use to go to a website. And we have some logos for some web browsers here on our screen. Some of the more popular ones up in the upper left is the icon for Mozilla Firefox. Top center, that's Internet Explorer. Middle left, that's for Opera. Middle right, that's Edge. We've got Safari down at the bottom center and Google Chrome down at the bottom right. And then you've also got some older web browsers in there, like the middle. The very center one is for Netscape Navigator, which is a web browser that's not in development anymore. It's just an old school one. But you use these web browsers to view web pages or websites. And a website is a collection of web pages. So you can kind of think of it as like a book, like the book itself being the web site, and each individual page in a book being the web page. So a website is a collection of related web pages for one organization or one individual. Like for example, all of the web pages about Cleveland Community College, that's there at clevelandcc.edu. So really, as far as all that goes, all the web pages and resources that make up a website work, that make up a website are on what we call a web server. So it's this web server that our computer via our browser is making a call out to and saying, hey, do you have this website? I'd like to see it. And the server replies back, why, yes, I do. Here's the information for it. So that's more or less the way that works. Some terms that you might hear thrown around are Web 2.0, Web 3.0, and Internet 2. And these are kind of evolutions in the World Wide Web. So initially, web pages were mostly just a one-way communication medium, right? Like I would just put up a web page, and that would just be me putting out on blast whatever I wanted to say, and there was nobody talking back to me and nobody telling me things. It was just me putting up my data. But over time, we kind of got this second generation of two-way communication via web pages that really became available and allowed people to interact with businesses or each other. One of the common things that we can talk about here is social media. Right? So when we think about things like when we think about things that are Web 2.0, we think about these things that allow us to communicate back and forth in near real time via a website that connects us directly in communication with other people. Things like social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media you like to use. Just all of these ways that you can share ideas and give content. That's Web 2.0. But now in the modern day, we are kind of moving past that. We're moving into Web 3.0. That's kind of where we are right now, is Web 3.0. It's more intuitive. It's more customized to you. We have artificial intelligence, or AI, that improves your digital assistant's ability to interpret your language, the things that you just say to them. Like I can say, hey, Alexa, what's the weather? And it knows where I'm at, it knows what I said, and it's able to tell me what the weather forecast is going to be like. Today, rain, right? So Web 3.0 uses these intelligent machines to adapt content based on data that's unique to you. So it can take things that you've done in the past, like your search history, browsing that you've done on different websites, questions that you've asked your digital assistant, and customize your stuff based on you. So, you might ask, like, oh, where's a good place to go out to eat tonight? And so the recommendation then is based on restaurants that you have searched for in the past within a few miles of your current location, and may include data from other sources like the restaurant's website. So you can get the menu for the restaurant right down the road from you that you enjoy eating at, or you're interested in that kind of cuisine, because of all this big data collection and things of that nature. Right? So this is helpful and it's convenient, but it is also kind of scary, right? That all of this data is available and out there that could be so identifiable to us personally. So it does make us have to be cognizant of kind of what we're doing, what we know, what we want to be able to do later, that sort of thing. In terms of our data security. So we kind of have to be extra careful as far as all that goes. Internet 2 is a not-for-profit organization, essentially a group of U.S. researchers and educational organizations formed Internet 2 in 1996. And this is a not-for-profit organization geared towards solving society's challenges through innovations using advanced technology. So it's basically saying, well, how can we take technology, how can we take this internet that, in 1996, the internet itself was a relatively new concept. We had, it was open sourced from the Department of Defense in like 1994. Right? So around the time when this group was created, the internet as we know it had only been around for a couple years. But they said, what if we took this technology and we used this technology to solve society's problems? So Internet 2 operates the largest and fastest research and education network in the United States. And they have sites along this network like the Oak Ridge National Library that is the home of the Summit supercomputer. So they're kind of practicing what they preach there. So projects at Internet 2 focus on an advanced networking, information security, high performance computing and cloud computing, and they're trying to solve society's problems with these technologies. Let's talk about net neutrality, because we need to. This is a big deal, and you might have heard about this in the news, and you might have not known what the heck they were talking about. So really, there was a time in the internet, pre-2015, where you could kind of consider things just like the Wild West, right? Like it was more or less unregulated in terms of who was allowed to do what. So in 2015, under the Obama administration, they finally decided, we need to kind of put this to paper. We need to put how we want the internet to kind of operate down. And the result was net neutrality. So this is a set of rules that was governing net neutrality and passed to, essentially what they wanted to do was create an open and equal internet for all. So essentially what we're talking about with net neutrality is that there is no difference. You're not allowed to have any difference in the services that you give to one website over another website. Every website on the internet is equal under net neutrality. So whether you wanted to go to Netflix, whether you wanted to go to YouTube, whether you wanted to go to the Shelby Star or the Cleveland Community College website, the traffic going to and from these websites have to be handled in the exact same way. So he finally took this that had basically been happening for a few years at this point and normalized it as a matter of law. However, in 2017, they flipped this a little bit. The FCC reconsidered the rules on the internet and decided that net neutrality might not be the best thing for them. Now, it really came at the behest of service providers. And when we really kind of think about it, we can really see what's wrong with breaking down and eliminating net neutrality. I mean, you can kind of think of it this way. If I'm AT&T, I'm the service provider, or Spectrum as the service provider, and we see a lot of these service providers nowadays getting into more and more ventures. So if I'm AT&T and I want to start a streaming service, offering streaming video, movies, television shows, that sort of thing. Well, under net neutrality, before 2017, I had to give people equal access to Netflix. I'd had to give them the same access to Netflix that I would give them to my own AT&T streaming service. But with no net neutrality, I could give priority to my AT&T customers coming to the AT&T streaming service and throttle and slow down Netflix. Think about that. Seems a little problematic. You know, essentially I can make a business move based on the fact that I own the internet pipes. I can shape the traffic going to one side or another. And I can give preferential treatment to the businesses that I run or the businesses that pay me versus the ones that don't. And really, when you look at that, and if it gets really, serious in that sort of way, I mean, that would give an ISP the potential to make innovation and new businesses entering a field really tough to get off the ground. Because you'd already have to have the money and the standing to be able to pay to play. So it's something that we have to think about in conjunction with what we've got. Let's do one more slide, and I think we'll stop there for today. I think a 30-minute live stream is enough for today. And let's talk about connecting to the internet. So in order to connect to the internet, you use what's called a NIC, or wireless or network interface card, NIC. And your network interface card is the part of your computer that interacts with the internet and lets it work. So you can have a wired network card or a wireless network card. And the majority of computers and mobile devices today are already equipped with the hardware that, you need to connect to a network. They already have that wired or wireless NIC. The wired NIC is the one with the Ethernet port. We see that in the center image here. That's probably the one that you're most familiar with. I mean, pretty much every device nowadays also has a wireless interface card that allows you to interface with a network. Wireless, in general, like if we're talking about Wi-Fi, those are radio signals. Another thing could be Bluetooth technology. Named after Harold Bluetooth. The Bluetooth symbol being an amalgamation of his initials. He was a king from somewhere up in Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, somewhere up in that northern European region. Can't remember right off the top of my head. But these devices allow you to connect to a network or network devices, make a connection from one device to another without a wire. So that's where we're going to stop here. There's plenty more, but you can read about it in your textbooks and watch more on, the videos and stuff that are in the module. If you've got any questions, be sure to contact me. It's always good to ask before something is due. If you have questions about something, waiting until after it's due doesn't do you a whole lot of good. I'm going to hang out in the chat for just a couple minutes to just see if anybody who's live with me today has a question. Otherwise, feel free to email. That's all that I have for you for today. Thank you for watching.